All right, welcome to the 10 metrics that made over $10 million in agency profit. My name is Kyle Hunt, and I'm the founder of Agency Operators, and I have Eli Rubel with me. Eli, say what's up.
What's up, everybody?
Cool. And he recently just founded Profit Labs, and he's like an incredible guy that I've been able to meet very recently and work on really cool projects with this on him. So I'm super excited to be here with him. And we're going to talk about some cool metrics today. And thank you all for coming to talk about metrics because like I'd probably be falling asleep already. So thank you for staying awake. If you do stay until the end, if you are awake, we have two agency profit resources that are only for live attendees. So if you're not live and you're watching this after, I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to get these. But if you are live, you're going to be able to get Eli's agency growth calculator, which is responsible for over $10 million of agency profit. And then my core metrics dashboard, which is responsible for a lot of agency revenue as well. And that includes a video walkthrough. And just to give you a heads up on who I am, if you haven't seen me post on LinkedIn, I had a 7-figure agency exit in 2016. It was a lead gen agency, scaled my own DTC brand called Family Gifts Co. to multiple 8 figures. Facebook did a case study about it. I did a minority acquisition of Weekend Digital, which is an 8-figure D2C agency, and became the COO there. Now I'm an advisor. And we also invested in a bunch of really cool brands through Weekend. I've helped 34 agencies fix their operations since 2024, and the one that I'm most proud of is that my wife says that I'm the best. So that took the hardest one to get. And these are some of the cool brands that we've invested in. I think we're at 12 to date. And I've got some pretty cool testimonials that I'm just not going to bore you with. But I think I do good work with agency owners. Like they like their operations are in a better place when I work with them. And where I want to start this presentation, though, is that operations, this is not like the sexiest things to talk about, like metrics or ops, not like sales or like lead gen, but this is where you make all the money because you can't consistently scale to 7 or 8 figures without ops. And when I played soccer in high school, my coach always was like, hey, offense wins games, defense wins championships. And it's the same in the agency game. You can only get so far with offense, which is lead gen and sales. And you really need defense to win, and that's solid operations. So here's some math, and I know math is hard, but I think you promised this is going to be fine for you all. It's really quick. So if you're a $50,000 a month agency and you churn 10% of your clients per month, which is average churn across all agencies, the max size that your agency could ever grow to be would be around $500,000 a year. Versus if you're a $50,000 a month agency and you churn 5% per month, which is considered best in class, then the max size your agency can be doubles to $1 million per year, just based off of that one simple change of decreasing your churn. And if you're a $500,000 a month agency, like just add a 0 to this, the math works the same. So you're really limited by your capacity and your ability to keep your clients. So let's talk about metrics. And one of the biggest problems that I see when I'm talking to agency owners is metrics. And I hear this on my calls a lot where agency owners, like, I feel like I'm flying blind is like the language that I hear. I don't know what to track. And today, Eli and we're going to fix this today for you. So you don't have to worry about it ever again. And there's 34 agencies that are in my community mastermind, and a lot of them onboarded, they didn't even track any metrics. So my question to you that I want to pose to you is like, how do you expect to get the results that you want if you aren't tracking what's actually going to get you there, which is why you're here. So I'm excited for that. And in fact, most agencies, when they join agency operators, they're probably only tracking 3 to 5 metrics if they're tracking any at all. And these might include things like revenue and gross margin. And gross margin is essentially the cost to deliver your service. So the cost of delivery, profit, churn, NPS, which is Net Promoter Score. And these seem like pretty good numbers to track, right? I mean, like you can't live without revenue or profit and NPS. You want your clients to be happy. But here's why tracking like only metrics like these are generally bad. And there's 3 reasons. And the first reason is that these are what are called lagging indicators. And a lagging indicator means that the KPI lags the result. So if you're looking at your metrics and you see you made $10,000 in profit last month, but you wanted to make $20,000, you can't do anything about it because the $10,000 has already happened. So the indicator then comes after the result. And these are very reactive metrics. And this is kind of like using your rear view mirror to drive your car, which that'd be crazy, right? Unless you were filming some sort of like a YouTube video, and it might go viral then, but generally, like, you wouldn't want to do that. That'd be a pretty bad idea. And so it's the same thing for your agency. The second reason is these are usually tracked monthly. And the question that I want to pose to you is, like, how much bad stuff can happen in a month? Because I've had businesses where I've lost $500,000 in a month. So, like, if you don't pay attention to your metrics for an entire month, especially when you're smaller, or even when you're smaller, a lot of really bad stuff can go wrong that you've never had a chance to fix. So we definitely want to be looking at these metrics more consistently than that. And then number three is, and this is the most important one, I think, is like they don't include any operations metrics. And even a lot of the larger agencies, like $500,000, $700,000 a month agencies that I work with, are going to get this wrong. And they think that, like, tracking NPS is how you judge good operations. But as we're going to learn, that's definitely not enough. And when your entire agency rests on operations performing, you need more than just one KPI to judge its success. So here's what you should track is, number one, leading indicators. And leading indicators are metrics that lead you to the result that you want. So instead of tracking churn, you think, so what are the things that we can track that will lead us to low churn? And maybe if clients are performing well, or if we're delivering things to them on time. And we'll get more into exactly what you should be tracking in the next few slides. But these are leading indicators that are very proactive metrics. They're not reactive like what we just talked about, because we can actually change the future based on them. Number two, you should track daily and weekly. And this is definitely going to ruffle some feathers. Ideally, you'd be tracking the same metrics daily and weekly. And the reason is that the faster you and your team can flag an issue, the faster you can address it. And if you have to wait a whole week or a whole month to address the big issue, you can blow up in your face and you can lose a lot of money like I have in the past. And then number three is we want to make sure that we're including operations metrics. And we're going to go deep on this in a few slides, but just know for now, like, this is something that from this day forward, you should be tracking in your agency. And then number four is we also want to include issues and solutions from the team, and not only you in this. And what I mean by that is that most agency owners are the chief issue solver of their agency. But what you don't know is that this is a choice. And it's a choice because you haven't really taught your people how to solve issues, and you haven't given them the opportunity to solve them for you. So we want to give them that opportunity for any metrics that they're personally responsible for on the sheet. All right, so now that you know what to track, here is the order to track them. Is number one, we want to look at our lead gen funnel. And then number two, we want to look at our sales funnel. And then three is the operational excellence metrics. And this would be on a per service line basis if you sell multiple services, or on a per pod basis if you have a pod structure, which I'm not going to get into for the sake of time. But let's just take a few minutes and dive into each one of these. So before I go into each one, I want you to understand, like, why you should be tracking these specifically from a funnel perspective. And that's because this is going to help us to detect problems early by tracking what are called inputs to outputs. So we're tracking things that get us the result we want, and that can help us be proactive. So if we're not hitting our lead gen metrics at the top of the funnel in this, so say, like, we use LinkedIn to post and we don't post a lot of things for a couple of weeks, or we use cold email, but maybe our volume went down. Everything else down the funnel below that is going to be down the following weeks as well. And you'll see that in the numbers. So this is going to help us to detect those problems early by tracking those inputs to outputs in a funnel. And the way that I think about this is that you want to choose 1 to 3 KPIs that are accurately showing the inputs that get you to the outputs that you want. So if you're doing cold email, for example, I would track something like the number of cold emails that we're sending out, which is volume. I'd look at the number of book calls that we have, which is a quality metric. And then lastly, I'd look at first response time. Because if you aren't responding to cold emails within like 5 minutes, the odds drastically decrease that they're going to book. And there's some lead gen studies out there. If you Google it, they show like a 100x increase in the likelihood of connecting with a lead if you message them in the first 5 minutes compared to waiting longer, like hours or days. So that's an incredibly important metric. And you're going to have a pretty good idea if there's an issue with your cold email just by tracking these 3 metrics. And if any of these aren't on track, then it's an alert to you that something is wrong and that we need to go look into why and that we need to fix it. For something like LinkedIn content, which I use a lot, where there's a less visible funnel, I would just track things like inputs. And if we're making LinkedIn content, we might track like the number of LinkedIn posts, and then separately the number of LinkedIn lead magnets, which are really good right now for LinkedIn, and how a lot of you probably drive your lead gen if you're using LinkedIn. And then if we're doing LinkedIn DMs, we might also track the number of LinkedIn DMs that we're having, and then also the number of leads that we get from those DMs. So we can start to see that funnel and the ratio between those as well, and if it's improving or not improving. All right, and then we want to show the sales funnel. So we just talked about lead gen. Now we want to show the sales funnel in our weekly and daily reporting. And that's just so that we can see any weak points in this funnel week to week. And the first thing I want to track is the number of initial calls booked, which is how many people are booked on your calendar. And you can just literally go and count that from the previous week, or you could use like an automation to count it. The number of initial calls that showed. So how many people showed up to your meetings that booked. And if this is with a warm audience, so say most of your lead gen comes through content, then you're going to expect like a 95% or higher show rates. Like when I hop on calls with people, I can't think of anybody in the past like 6 months that hasn't showed up. And if they haven't, they've just rescheduled. And that's because most of my lead gen is through content and it's very warm. But if you use cold traffic, so like you're doing paid ads, you're doing cold email, then you'd be doing like amazing if you have an 80% show rate. So if you're not there, then there's going to be an issue with your call shows that's really easily fixable. And that's a high leverage move for you to look into. Then we track the number of qualified calls, which is how many people are you talking to that are actually qualified, because maybe you're getting a lot of calls, but not many of them are qualified. Then you know to look at the funnel and try to change some things. The number of audit calls. Not everybody has an audit call process, but if you do have one, I want to track that and understand how many of the qualified leads led to audit calls. The number of sales, that's what we're going to track here. And then I also want to track the dollar of new customer AOV. This is important, especially if you're selling different types of services or if you have different levels of service. And ideally, over time, you'd want to see this slightly go up year over year. All right, so I know that was a lot. Here's what this is actually going to look like in the dashboard that I'm going to give to you. And you can see that we have 2 lead gen metrics here on the left. We have like LinkedIn posts and YouTube videos posted. And then we have a basic sales funnel built out with initial calls booked and initial calls showed. We have qualified calls, we have audit calls, we have sales. And you'll see that this is tracked on a week-to-week basis. And what's nice about this sheet and why I created, this sheet has so many iterations, but why the sheet specifically is set up in the way that it is with targets is you can actually change targets week over week if you want. Whereas most sheets, like you get one target and then the sheet screws up if you change it week over week for some reason. So that's a nice feature of the sheet, and it makes your life easy when you change targets. And then also it's color coded for easy viewing. So you can look at the sheet very quickly and understand, okay, we're not doing something at the top of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, probably in the next couple of weeks is going to be hurt because we stopped sending cold email or whatever that thing is. All right. And then the third part of this is the operational excellence metrics, which these are my favorite. But before I tell you what they are, I want to tell you why that we track these specifically. So otherwise, they're just going to seem like a bunch of meaningless metrics that I'm forcing you to track, which they're not. There's a specific reason for each one. Number one, they are all based on client value. And by that, I mean, what are the things that your clients really care about in your service? And the best way to get the answer to that is really to ask them, because each client's going to have their own unique things that they really value. But generally, from my experience, I've found that we can kind of group these things into a few categories that I'll talk about on the next slide. So number one, find out what our clients value. Number two, then we're going to take what our clients say they value, and we're going to turn that into metrics that we track. And then number three, we're going to track those things religiously. So what do your clients actually value? In my experience, there's 5 things that most clients care about. And the number one thing by far is their own performance. And more than anything, you need to have high performance for your clients. If you sell them a paid media package, they want a result. If you sell them an email package, a creative package, a B2B package, whatever it is, they're purchasing it from you for a result. And if you can't give them the result that they want, it doesn't matter how nice you are, doesn't matter how cool your technology is, they're going to leave because they care about their own performance more than anything else. So this is the number one metric that we track. Number two, we track their own performance fast, because not only do they want you to get them to the result that they want, they also want that result yesterday. And it doesn't matter if we have this really nice like 90-day onboarding process with a cool visual, which I've done those things, and we set client expectations that it's going to take 90 days for things to turn around. If they're not seeing some kind of initial results soon, or at least there's like a light at the end of the tunnel within a few weeks or the end of the first month, then they're never going to last the whole days. They're probably going to churn before 90 days. So they care about their own performance fast as well. Number three, they care that you deliver stuff on time. So no late stuff. And your word is your bond. And when you tell a client that you're going to send them a branding package on a certain date at a certain time, like you better deliver that thing on time. Because if not, they're going to see you as somebody who breaks your promises, and people don't view that type of person as a long-term partner. So we want to make sure we're delivering things on time. Number four, you deliver stuff with no revisions. So if you sell creative and during your client approval process, your clients consistently send stuff back to you, that's a bad thing. And that's called revisions, or it's called rework, depending upon your terminology. But each time that a client sends something back to you for a revision, they're thinking in their minds, like, why am I paying you so much money if I know this better than you do? Or like my favorite, why do you not understand my brand like I do, when we've gone over this 20 times? And we've all had those brand conversations if we sold any services with design. But clients hate revisions. Not only do you hate revisions, they hate them too. And number five is that you deliver stuff with no errors. So if after you beautifully created an email campaign, your client messages you in Slack and they say, oh my God, we sent out the wrong link in our Black Friday email, which has definitely happened to me. They're thinking, again, like, why am I paying you so much money if you keep screwing stuff up? So we want to track this metric and try to decrease it as much as possible. Okay, so now that we know what they value, the five things, we're going to turn those into metrics. So number one, for their own performance, we're going to track percent to client performance. So whatever target we set for them, whether it's a revenue target, whether it's a profit target, a number of leads, whatever it is, what percent of that goal did we reach? Was it 5% of the goal? Was it 105% of the goal? We want to know every single week. Number two, for their own performance, fast, we track time to value in days. Whatever target that we sold them on, like whatever end result that we sold them on, how long did it take for them to get it? And if it's over 90 or 120 days, then they're probably going to churn. If it's sooner than that, there's a higher likelihood that they're going to stay and they'll be a long-term client. For stuff that you deliver on time, we track percentage of on-time delivery. So if you had 100 projects that were due last week, what percentage of them were delivered on time? Was it 80%? Was it 60%? Or was it all of them? Was it 100%, which is definitely your goal? And so that you deliver stuff with no revisions, we track the percentage of revisions. So if we had 100 projects that we were working on last week and clients sent back 50 of those projects to us, we have a 50% revision rate. And this one is specifically important because it just doesn't annoy clients. This is double work for our team as well, that our team could be working on another client, or they could be going even deeper on that same client and doing better work. So this is a lot of untapped capacity in most agencies. And a weekend, when we started tracking this, we averaged around 20 to 30% rework per week. And after 6 to 9 months of real focus on this, we had weeks with 0% revisions or 5% revisions. So it just takes understanding the root cause of revisions and attacking each one. And then the stuff that you deliver with no errors, we're going to track percentage of errors. So if we had 100 projects that we're working on last week, we had 2 errors, we have a 2% error rate, which is like a pretty common error rate. And then here's what this actually looks like in the tracker that I'm going to give to you. This one is for a paid media agency, but this works with every single type of agency out there. You just might need to customize it a little bit. And we can see that we have revenue to target at the top, and that's broken out on a per client basis. And you can see that we've also color coded the different areas on the right for the different clients or different pods. And we also have on-time delivery below that. We have the rework percentage, which is the same as revision percentage. We have the error rates. time to value. And then I also have capacity down here, so we know how many additional clients that we can bring on. And this helps bridge the gap between sales and delivery, because there's often not that gap, a weekly touch point to understand, can we push the gas or not? So now it's forced. Now we have it in this meeting because we track additional capacity. And then we put all together, now we have metrics for our entire agency, and that shows us the full funnel for lead gen, for sales, and the operational excellence metrics. And the last part that's really important here is that on the left side, I have the reason for miss and an experiment. And anytime that we have a red metric on here, which they're color coded red or green, the person who owns that metrics puts why that they think they didn't hit the target. And you really want them to understand the root cause of why. So they go in and they put it in, and then they put in some solutions, which I call an experiment because I like the scientific nature of the word, but you can call it solutions, you can call it whatever you want. But the important thing is they come to the meeting with ideas on how to fix the thing that's red. Not you as the agency owner, not the chief problem solver, but the person who's actually responsible for that. Now, if you're responsible for sales or lead gen, you're still going to be solving those issues. But if you're not responsible for delivery and you have people who are, they're going to be filling those in for you prior to the meeting. And this is how you remove yourself as the chief issue solver in your agency, by having a team understanding the problems, identifying the root causes of those problems, and then coming to you with solutions instead of questions. All right, in the sake of time, I am done, and I'm going to hand it over to Eli.
Kyle, man, every time I hear Kyle talk, I end up taking notes, even though I feel like I know the stuff that he's talked about because I've heard it before from him. I end up still taking new notes. So I think that's just a testament to how many good nuggets there are there that can really impact an agency's business. Just as a quick aside, I had that really dope quote from his wife. And so I was like, oh, sweet. I'm going to have a dope quote from, and I went to her and I was like, hey, I need to get a quote from you for this talk. And she gave me a really shitty review on the CSAT survey. So I actually threw the quote away. We're not going to have the quote here. Anyway, I digress. I'm Eli. Nice to meet you all. Start off with a little bit of my backstory. I started my first agency, Mattermade, in 2019. Initially, we were like we do all the marketing things under the sun for you if you're a B2B software company. And that has evolved a bunch over the years. But within the first 3 years of founding Mattermade, that business produced a total of $7 million in profit. And when I say profit, I mean like actual profit that goes into my pocket, not profit that like gets reinvested into the business or anything. I then started my second agency, No Boring Design, in 2020, late 2022, early 2023. And since then, so year to date now, both agencies have produced a combined $10 million in total profit. Those are big numbers, and people on the internet say weird things sometimes. So I thought I would put a little proof up on the screen. My wife thought this was gauche, but I was like, I'm already saying the number, so I might as well prove that it's real. So here's real P&L screenshots from our QuickBooks instance. On the left, we have Mattermade. I forgot to include 2019, so this is just 2020 through 2025. Just under $20 million in revenue, which revenue doesn't actually matter. Profit matters. And down at the bottom, you can see 8.2, I think it is, in net profit. And then No Boring Design over there, the new design agency. Man, these numbers are hard to see. Anyway, I think it's 888,000 in profit so far. That business is actually on pace to hit $1 million in net profit for this fiscal year. So really excited about that. Some of you out there, you're like, hey, I'm good at math. That only adds up to 9. This doesn't include any add backs, and it also doesn't include 2019. So it adds up to around a little over 10 million when you add that stuff back in. Anyway, so I like to start whenever I'm chatting with agency folks is like asking a more fundamental question before we get into the weeds, which is like, why are we here? Running an agency business is hard. There are always fires. When you put out one fire, another one pops up. You never really can catch a break, or when you catch a break, it's never as long as you want it to be. And so I think it's important to have a really clear sense for why we're actually here. My why, I am a lazy person. People who know me think it's silly when I say that, but I am super lazy. I hate working. And so I wanted to create a business that supported that way of living. So my goal is like, how do I work as little as possible and make as much as possible so that I can spend as much time with my family and friends doing the things that I love as possible. And I also have this really bad habit. My wife yells at me all the time about this, but I like nice things. And so I wanted a business or a couple of businesses that would unlock the lifestyle that I wanted and allow me to indulge in some of the nice things that I like. So that's the preamble. Now you know who I am, a little bit about my why and why I'm here. Let's talk about agencies. So I'm going to ask everyone this question, and feel free to put your answer in the chat. What do you think the number one killer of agency profitability is? And we'll let a couple answers stream in. All right, I'm just going to jump in. So the number one killer of agency profitability, and if you can figure this out, like, you're golden. It's not being born Gary Vaynerchuk. I know it's frustrating. I wasn't born Gary Vaynerchuk, unfortunately. I keep trying to, like, putting myself in a dark cloth and hoping that I can be reborn Gary Vaynerchuk, but it just doesn't work. So if anybody here got that answer right, I'll give you $100. Anyway, cool. So jokes aside, let's get into the real killers of profitability. There are two of them. The first killer of agency profitability, this is the boring one, having a messy back office. You're like, Eli, why are you telling me boring things? I only want, like, quick hitting, dopamine infused answers. And at the end of the day, messy back office, it's all the stuff that we hate as agency owners, and that's why it kills profitability. This is like, invoicing your clients and making sure they pay on time. This is managing your cash flow. This is bookkeeping and accounting and making sure that the numbers you're actually getting are accurate so that you can make good decisions. It's just having good hygiene in general at a foundational financial level that a lot of agencies tend to ignore or, like, shun because it's not fun to work on. It's not why we got into business in the first place. For most of us, it's not our strength. Like, this is just not the thing that we either studied or are passionate about, whatever. And so it collects dust, and then we're not able to make smart business decisions because the data is not accurate. So that's the boring one. Let's talk about the not so boring one. So this is the second killer of agency profitability. I call it flying blind. I used to call it lagging indicators, which ties really nicely into Kyle's presentation, because I completely agree. If you're making business decisions off of reports that were accurate, they're a month and a half ago, like, you can't make good business decisions there. So what do I mean specifically by flying blind? Well, most agency owners typically can answer one simple question. How did my company perform financially last month? Gary is not happy about that. Gary thinks that you should try harder and that that's not good enough. Why is that not good enough, Eli? Great question. So glad you asked. Let me show you an actual P&L, because I'm all about showing the P&L from Mattermade. This is in May of 22. Up at the top, look at that number. Oh, yay. This is why we don't celebrate revenue, by the way. So that's $500,000 in revenue for the month of May. But then down at the bottom, why do I want to cry? This number's horrible. $35K in net profit on $500,000 in revenue. Like, shoot me in the face, replace me as CEO. This is fucked. So then like this report, I got this report. So if this was a May 22 P&L, I received this report probably like June 10th or June 15th from our bookkeeper or accountant. So, like, not only did I not know how bad this was until halfway through the next month, but so I've burned all of May already. And then I've essentially burned all of June, because whatever decisions I'm going to make now aren't going to really impact the business at best until July. So this is a horrible way to run a business. And thankfully my boss didn't fire me, so I got to keep trying and learning and improving. So let's talk about, like, what you should actually be doing or should consider doing. So I like to think about this as far as like, what are the answers that we need as agency owners to run our business well? We're in the business of people as agency owners, or at least most of us are in the business of people. Typically, we are paying people to do a job, charging more than we pay them, and poof, there's capitalism for you. So if we're in the people business, we need to be really, really tight on understanding our team's utilization and what our team's utilization is today, what our team's utilization is going to be forecasted into the future. So let me show you, like, on a practical terms, what that actually looks like. This is a screenshot of the live dashboard that we give our clients at Profit Labs so that they can sit with their leadership team and make wise, profitable decisions before things become fire. So in this case, we're looking at this predictive staffing model. The predictive staffing model, what we're seeing here, so we see designers 112%, project managers 63%, all company 87%. So if we're just looking at broad brushstrokes, and mind you, most agencies don't even track this in the first place. So, but let's just assume, you're looking at broad brushstrokes. You see 87%. Cool, we're good. That feels pretty reasonable as far as utilization is concerned. And this utilization model, by the way, it's predictive. So it's looking and predicting 30 days from now, what is the team utilization going to look like? So it's taking into account operational inputs and signals, as well as financial inputs and signals, time tracking data. So like, what's our team's literal current utilization like? And I'm going to pause there because time tracking is this thing that comes up, and some people like to fight with me on the internet about this when I say that time tracking is important. And some people are like, oh, I don't want to hurt my team's feelings, or like, I don't want them to think that I don't trust them. And my stance on this is very firm. It's like, if you're in the business of selling someone else's time, which is that's what we do as agency, as a service business, you can't sell someone else's time if you don't know how much time they're spending. And so I think one of the challenges is that, like, some of the other industries around us, like I came up through the venture-backed software world, and in the software world, the idea of tracking time, like, you'll get stabbed by someone if you mention this, because they're like, no, like, it's all about how efficient you are with your time and effective, and like, like, I can't. And so that's good for them because they're spending VC dollars, but in this case, we're spending our own money, because if we don't spend the money, then it goes into our pocket as profit. So we need to be a little bit more diligent than that, a little bit more rigorous, a little bit more objective. And time tracking is the only way you're going to get there, unless you're a small team. So I think the caveat here is, like, time tracking, in my opinion, isn't necessary until you're around 10 people. Around 10 people, you'll probably start to get this feeling of like, I used to have my arms wrapped around my company and I knew what everyone was doing. Around 10 people, it starts to falter. At 15 people, typically, like right around 15, that's when it becomes like, oh, fuck, I need to be tracking time. Or maybe the realization isn't I need to be tracking time, but it's just like, I don't have a sense for what everybody's doing. I don't have a sense for if folks have more bandwidth or less bandwidth. And so at 15 people, that's usually when we see most agency owners flip from, oh yeah, I don't really believe in tracking time, or I don't want to do it, to, I see this is a priority that I'm going to now invest in. So that was a huge little off squirrel ADD. Thank you. But anyway, so now let's ask ourselves, like, what does this data tell us now that we have this fancy predictive staffing model? It's looking out into the future 30 days. It's saying, okay, if you close the pipeline at the conversion rates that you're used to closing, your design team, this is a design agency we're looking at in this case, is going to be 112% of capacity. So what does that mean? That means we're going to be understaffed for our demand. What does that mean? Well, that means that our client experience is probably going to go downhill, as well as our employee experience. So what happens when client experience and employee experience goes downhill? Well, you end up in a situation where churn starts to become a problem, both client churn and employee churn. And you might say, like, oh, that's not a big deal, I use contractors. And like, cool, but do you want to run a grindhouse? Like, and then that kind of gets more into the, like, what type of business are you trying to run? So being able to stay in front of that. And I've been in this position so many times. Like, the reason I created this model in the first place was I got caught with my pants down over and over and over again, where suddenly we were like, yes, we just closed all these deals. Holy shit, we need to hire like 4 designers yesterday. And then our current designers are unhappy. Our existing clients are not thrilled. And I'm spending my nights and weekends on LinkedIn Recruiter trying to like find 4 designers in a hurry. And then you make sacrifices on designer quality, and I'm just using designer as a sample role, but any role, like, suddenly you're hiring people that they're like good enough instead of like a fuck yes. So this gives you the opportunity to start recruiting before it's a problem. Very long-winded way to say that. Then we're seeing here on the flip side, our project managers, even with all the pipeline closing 30 days from now into the future, we are going to be wildly overstaffed with our project managers still. So this tells me we're going to spin up a recruiting effort for designers. We're going to lay off some of our project managers to get this into a healthy range. For me, a healthy range is above 80%. So I think in like the 80 to 90%, that if you can maintain your team there, then that's a really healthy place to be. Great. All right. We've talked about this metric enough. Let's go on to the next one. So, and again, these are in the form of questions. So as a leadership team, understanding what client engagements are the least profitable and the most profitable. I'll show you what this looks like, but I think we've all been in leadership meetings where you're talking about your clients and someone, maybe they're from the account team or the project management team, they say, hey, just wanted to flag this. I know that our B2B, I'm just using them as a fake example. I know our B2B is a really important logo for us as a client. And they keep asking for things that are out of scope. We keep saying yes, because we know they're an important logo to keep happy. Like, at what point should we put our foot down? And without a dashboard like this, without these insights, it's all based on gut. The leadership team, everybody looks around the room like, yeah, it is a really important logo. We really want to keep them happy. Let's just say yes, it's okay, and kick the can down the road. And maybe this is their last request. But what this dashboard tells us is, okay, we're able to look at what's our gross margin by customer in real time, and then what's our CSAT score? What's the happiness, or NPS, whatever you want it to be? What's the happiness score of each of these customers as well? And so at a glance, you can see how happy are they and how profitable are they. And so on this list of least profitable customers, we might be able to see, oh, well, we're actually really close to break even at this point with our B2B, because we keep investing time into their account after they ask things. And so this gives us the opportunity to make that decision based on data and say, we can't start losing money on this account. Like, we don't want to lose money on any clients. We want to make money on clients. We're not running a charity. So having these insights at your fingertips during leadership meetings is really, really critical to making profitable decisions. This is probably what most people think of when they think of financial modeling. It's like, what, based on our current performance, are we actually going to hit our targets? But I know a lot of agency owners don't forward forecast like this. So, what does this look like in the report? It's just, our profit goal for the year is 1.7 million. Based on our current performance year to date, we're tracking to hit 81% of our fiscal year 25 target. And so this gives us an opportunity to course correct if we need to. Maybe we're happy with that. 80% of goal, not too bad. 1.7 million, not too bad. But maybe we're not happy with that. Maybe we want to hire another sales rep or make a change to some of those leading items that Kyle talked about earlier. Maybe we need to pump more volume. Maybe we need to work on quality and conversion. So, and then the very last one in this list is, how did my company perform financially last month? Which, if you look at all of these other questions we've just been answering, you can see how this question, the question that your bookkeeper and accountant gives you in the form of a P&L, this is not the right document to make decisions off of. It's not the right document to run your agency off of. You should be considering running your agency off of more real-time metrics like Kyle mentioned, and more forward-thinking insights like the questions that we just went over a second ago. So that's that like the, why? That sounds like a lot of work, Eli. Why do you put, I already have so much work on my plate. Why are you putting more work on my plate? You're a jerk. Listen, at the end of the day, I fundamentally believe that agency specific insights like the ones that I just shared lead to more profitable decisions. And this is going to shock you. More profitable decisions lead to a more profitable agency. It's amazing how it works. Anyway, all right, that is basically it from me. I like to like wrap it up my portion by asking this question of like the question I brought up earlier. Like, what's your why? Why are you actually here? Why are you actually showing up and doing the hard work that is running an agency? Plenty of other ways to make money out there that might be a little less headache inducing. So why are you here? What are you chasing? And it's our goal at Profit Labs to get you there wherever your why is faster. And that is it.
Dude, I just wish that I had something when I was scaling my other agencies where we had like predictive staff modeling where I didn't have to come up with the staff model, like and the predictions myself and profitability by client and profit pacing. Like it will save you so much money understanding these things versus not having the data and flying blind. Like that's super incredible. Which is why I'm really excited to share this with you all. But before we get into what I want to talk about next, we do have the 2 agency profit resources for everybody. So Eli is going to go inside LinkedIn and he's going to post the links to his growth calculator and as well as my core metrics dashboard. So he's busy going to LinkedIn right now and he's going to paste those in there. I'm going to wait for a second until he's done so you guys can click those resources and get them.
We're getting there.
All right.
Here we go. Here's the first one.
All right. So the first one's in there. Boom. Yeah, I wish LinkedIn made it easier for us hosts to go give you guys information because we literally have to go join the LinkedIn event as well and then comment. So it's kind of crazy. All right. So while he's posting that, whoops, one more thing. I feel like Apple right now. If you want to have me and Eli personally help you add $25,000 to $100,000 in monthly profit to your agency, like today is the day. And now's your chance. You'll get a one-to-one call with Eli, which is his strategy call for profitability that he normally sells for $12.50. You get a KPI review with me of your core metrics that I normally sell for $12.50. You get a separate one-to-one strategy call for operations with me for $12.50. And then you also get 3 months of agency operators, which is I normally sell for $2,400. So that's over $6,000 in bonuses when you sign up for any Profit Labs plan. You get all of those bonuses for free. They come with it for free, no strings attached. Time with Eli, time with me, one-on-one fixing your agency, installing the right dashboards and the right metrics into your agency so you're not flying blind anymore. And we're only going to do this for 10 agencies max because like we don't have the bandwidth to do any more than that. And you should, Eli's also going to post the link in LinkedIn to this, and then I'm going to give you the link as well. But you should book a call now and get your spot before the last spots are taken. And on the call, Eli is going to audit your agency, show you where the biggest levers to increase things are, and then give you an action plan as well. So there's no pressure on this. And the worst case is that you get a ton of clarity on your agency afterwards. And if you want it, you can drop profit in the chat. Or what you can do is scan this link as well. So take out your phone, you can scan this link and it's going to take you to scan the QR code here, and it'll take you to a call to a page to book a call directly with Eli. Or you can type in or copy the link that's here, or you can go into LinkedIn where Eli just posted the link and copy that link into your web browser, copy paste. You can also get there that way. So one of those 3 ways, scan it with your phone, type it in from here, which scanning is probably going to be easier, or go into the LinkedIn comment section and copy and paste the link from there. If you click it, it won't send you to the link. You need to copy link in its entirety and then paste it into your browser to go to the booking session. Man, that's all we got. So I think, Eli, anything else?
No, I think you nailed it. Yeah, I think you
All
nailed
right.
it.
So what we want to do then is we want to give you some time to do this, but we also want to make sure that we answer any questions that you all have as well. So if you have any questions, put them in the LinkedIn comment section and we'll answer them right here for you. So I know there was a question earlier from Douglas when I was going over the core metrics call, and he asked, is the owner the one who posts, who creates and schedules and handles the leads? And I think the answer to that is entirely depending upon your agency size. Most agency owners, when they're smaller, handle all of sales and they handle all of lead gen. But the goal is eventually that you're hiring people who are better than you to take those things away from you so that you don't put, so that you can focus on the highest leverage resources for your agency. So initially, like 100%, that's going to be you. You're going to be filling out a lot of these, especially if you're an agency owner who's still in client delivery and owns client delivery. Like you're going to be filling out a lot of these. The goal is to remove ourselves from that, and I don't mean like actually remove yourself, but to hire people who are better than you, so that you can then start to coach them and work on the business instead of working in the business and working on the highest leverage things for your business. So that was a really good question. And if you have any other questions, we will read them and answer them. Okay.
Let's see. I see a question from Melissa. Yeah. What tools are you using to track this data and feed these models? So I'm assuming that this question was asked when I was showing the predictive labor model and some of those other insights. So this is fed from a variety of sources. That's the thing that makes it so hard to. That's why most people don't do this, is because it requires A, clean data in the first place, and then B, a variety of different data sources. So in order to create those visualizations that you're seeing in such like a clean, simple, clear format, we're pulling in data from spreadsheets, so like actual models that are only can be run in spreadsheets. We're pulling in time tracking data by integrating with the time tracking tool that our clients use. There are a bunch of them out there, like Toggle or EverHour, or ClickUp has some time tracking as well. So integrating with that, integrating with their CRM so that we can understand things like historical close rates and current pipeline, and then bringing all of that data together and modeling it in our at Profit Labs. We have a tool that we use that we've custom made. It's a third-party tool that we've configured to specifically for agency owners to integrate with all these sources.
Cool. What other questions do you have? And I just, again, I put the link to book a call with Eli. I don't know if the link actually posted, at least I can't see it when you shout out Eli. So the link's in there too. You can also use the QR code still if you want to book a call, and scan it and book a call. And we'll be here for questions still. What other questions do you guys have? I know there's a lot of people still out there. How can we help you? What are the questions and thoughts you guys have? And it does take a second for the comments to appear on LinkedIn.
Kyle, did you see Jacob's question? He said, I'm really curious about your opinion on offerings. I know Eli loves using packages, but is that the best way to scale and maximize profits? Right now, we do custom pricing, which gives us high profit margins, but it's very time consuming to close a sale.
Yeah. What service does he sell?
It's design and Webflow partner. So I'm guessing.
Bro, like you are the person to answer that 100%. So I agree with what Eli does and what he says, which is like you should try to productize and standardize delivery as much as you can, and that includes having specific lists of deliverables and additional pricings for those things. Making things custom makes things difficult for everybody, for your team, for the client, makes it difficult for your team to upsell additional things or cross-sell because like they're afraid, they don't know how much things cost. So I think the more that you can productize things from a service delivery perspective and from a pricing and offer perspective, the easier it's going to make your business, and the easier it's going to make the lives of your team members who have to fulfill on that business as well. So, yes. And
yeah, I think that point you made about the fulfillment, like streamlining fulfillment is such a big lever. And this one took us a while to learn at NBD. So Jacob, this is a business that's basically the same arena as what you're doing from what I can tell, where we initially had packages and we weren't extremely clear in our contracts about what was included and what was not included. And then you go and close that deal, and suddenly the delivery team is stuck in hell because it's unclear to them what they're supposed to be enforcing. It's unclear to the client what they actually are supposed to be getting for the money they're paid. So, yeah, I think it's super important to get as clear in the contracting as possible, but that doesn't mean you can't have these contracts like pre-defined. So if, one of the ways we look at this at NBD is we have like a kind of an intake form that our team will fill out of like, here's the status of, if it's a website project, like here's everything that is needed for it. And then based on how they score within that, it dictates their price. And so it's not like we're, using our gut to figure out the price every time. It's like mathematically calculated by this calculator we built for ourselves. And then based on that, it determines what contract language they get, which then determines what, our team has to fulfill. So it standardizes things a bit more than if you were just making everything truly custom.
Yeah, it's a really good idea. Having a calc, like if it is truly custom, like I know a lot of website builds are also custom as well. Like having that calculator build out is like the next best step to having like a really productized service. All right, Ira, I think that's how you pronounce it, has a question. So what profit margin should I aim for with my monthly retainer client? I offer organic social. I offer ranges from 2.5K a month to 8K a month. So I'm sure we both have similar opinions, but you want to take this one?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think for me, the guidance I give our clients is between 65 and 75% gross margin is a healthy place to be. It's possible to be higher than that. And there's certainly cases where you could justify why it might be lower, but in general, I think 65 to 75% gross margin is good. What do you think?
So I'm in a similar range. So the way that I like to think about it is typically the cost to deliver your service. Gross margin is just the opposite of that. So I like to look at the cost of delivery should be anywhere from 20% on the low end, all the way up to 40% on the high end. D2C specific. So your organic social. Okay. So this isn't as relevant to you, but more high skilled services like D2C creative, for instance, might be less higher cost of delivery because the cost to acquire people who are very skilled for that is going to be very high, as well as the cost to, for instance, like photo shoot. So if you have to pay models, like we had a 30,000 square foot facility at weekends, like all those things cost money. So our gross margins weren't as great because the service and the skill level that was expected was extremely high. But typically, right in the range that Eli was saying, I look at the cost of delivery to be 20-40%, which means the gross profit should be anywhere from 60 to 80%. If it's below that, so if I see the cost to deliver something as like 10%, in most circumstances, I'm questioning the level of talent that's on that team, because like you're charging somebody $10,000 a month and you're paying $1,000 to service that. Like if it's a skilled position and somebody needs to have any sort of skills to do that thing, you're probably not hiring skilled enough talent. And I'm going to foresee churn in the future because it's too low. So in that circumstance, I would take a deep look at the team to understand, like, are we actually paying our team enough, and are our wages competitive enough? Because if we can pay people more and they're going to be much better, I'd rather be in that business model than McDonald's model. So really good question. All right. Eric says you should sell that calculator. You can pay us via Stripe if you want. All right. Sied had a question. Thank you for the wonderful session. You're welcome. Thank you for attending. Right now, we're selling our Amazon ad services on Upwork, and we are 15 team members. Could you please tell me how I can get clients from LinkedIn? Where should I start on LinkedIn? If you can explain DM strategy, that would be great for me. Man, that's a whole separate topic and a whole separate call to do that, I think. So maybe book the call with Eli and get his thoughts on it. But I'll give you like my general 1 minute thoughts on this is to get clients from LinkedIn. I think you need to, if you have 0 LinkedIn you're starting for, like you need to increase volume substantially. I post twice a day on LinkedIn, every single day. So I also do events like this on LinkedIn. So this is another LinkedIn thing. I message 20, 25 people every single day, outbound. And yeah, I do a lot on LinkedIn, and I think all of it can help. Eli might do less though, because you have a much bigger following than me right now. What do you do, Eli?
I mean, I think if you're just starting out on LinkedIn, the fastest way, in my opinion, that you can generate results from LinkedIn in the form of like new potential clients and whatnot, pipeline, is through commenting, not posting. I mean, posting, of course, but posting I think of as like it's like this long tail, you know, if you start posting daily now, you might not get pipeline for 6 months from it because it takes a while to build authority and find your voice and your niche and all of these things. Whereas commenting, like if you can find the right accounts that are either great prospective clients or folks who are in that industry who are authority already, going in and leaving, it's not just like spray and pray. You can't just like comment, I totally agree with this, but use the comment section as an opportunity to share your unique expertise and point of view. And I've got a buddy who just started doing this, doesn't have a LinkedIn following at all, and he's already closed a number of deals just from this commenting strategy. So I think commenting is like it's like the paid ads version of generating demand on LinkedIn, and then posting is like the SEO version of generating demand on LinkedIn.
That's smart.
And DMs, I don't do DMs. I don't know. I know there are people who are smart about that. I have no clue.
Yeah. So you would like get a list of your ICP probably from Sales Navigator, look at like, or a Dream 100 list. And then it's like, those are the people that you're going to be commenting on a regular basis.
Yeah. That, and like, you know, people channel partners essentially. So like if I'm going after marketers, I would be commenting on Dave Gerhardt's stuff all the time. Or like if I'm going after bootstrapped SaaS founders, I would be commenting on Adam Robinson's stuff all the time. So figuring out like where are the watering holes and the influencers who your ICP frequents, and getting involved in those conversations so that your name keeps popping up and that you can show your expertise in those channels.
Cool. Awesome advice. Eric says, thanks guys. That was awesome. You're welcome. Thank you for attending, Eric. Appreciate it. Hopefully booked a call with Eli, and we'll still stick around for a couple more minutes for any last questions. So we still got 20 people on. I know you got questions in those minds. Those minds are yours.
There's a delay. There's like a solid 2-minute delay on what they're seeing on LinkedIn Live or hearing, and what we're saying.
Yeah, LinkedIn, do better. Hopefully your AI hears this.
Yeah.
And then like the default sort is most relevant too. So I have to resort it to most recent every single time.
Oh, that's weird. All right. Looks like no new questions.
All right.
I think we can wrap.
Thank you
this
so
guy
much
up.
for attending, everybody. This has been really awesome. It's been a pleasure to be able to talk to you all. I hope you enjoyed the the dashboards, even if you didn't book a call. And if you did book a call, Eli's really looking forward to talking to you. So thanks everyone. Peace out.